Hey all, Zook here in Frozen Aleum Loyce, taking on all bosses damageless, or, well, at least coming up with a route for it. Now, over the next 20 minutes or so, we will grab the Eye of the Priestess, we'll fight Aava, and we'll also free 2 Loyce Knights before we go take on the Throne of Want in the next video. So, as we run up, we have our skulls that we're going to be throwing, and I made sure that I have 2 urine casts and fall control equipped, attuned before we came down here. So then you can cast urine to distract all of these guys. Now you'll also want homeward equipped, why do I keep saying that? Homeward attuned, because right now there is a possible forlorn invasion right at the foot of those stairs, and he'll normally spawn over here in the courtyard. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on the feather. I actually mess up here. I cast urine too far back, so it didn't actually apply to this ice wizard guy. And always a little bit sketchy there. Try to cast these urns to the left if possible, just to make sure that this caster that we're about to run past actually does see all those urns. But as we come here through the fog, we're going to cast urn, and then I'm going to go over to the far side of the building and then roll through. If you go on this other side, then this dog who's unaffected by urine. If you go along the near side of the building, one thing that I've found is that if you turn around and try to stab the dog, so the dog won't hit you the first time, but you won't be able to hit it just because of the angle at which your character turns. So that's why I always run up the far side there. And then we'll cast fall control. If you have any sort of fall damage mitigation, whether that's the feline boots or silver cat ring, you can use that here as well. It would save you a little bit of time on the cast of fall control. So if you were worried about that one guy behind you, then wear the equipment. But now as we go through here, you'll see me cast urine all over the place. I'm gonna watch out for this caster. You see him cast, then you might want to back off a little bit. And all of the enemies in this area sometimes will not fall for urine. I haven't really been able to figure it out, but these spear guys are supposed to fall for urine, and every once in a while they won't. So just kind of be aware, be watching. Also, don't cast urine too close to yourself because that guy does have an attack where he plunges his spear into the ground, and if the urine orb is too close to you, then the spear shards will actually come up and hit you. So now I have the feather out because here, that spot where I just walked over when I said here, that spot right there can spawn a forlorn, and if you aren't careful, if you're just running through, then the forlorn will actually pop up and stagger you when he invades. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on that feather because you'll need to get out of there. I would homeward away and just redo this section if forlorn invades you. There isn't really a good area to kite him around since we haven't killed any of the enemies along the way. But luckily, we just get to grab this Eye of the Priestess. And then I am going to shoot this guy. We'll be coming back along this passage another 2 times. So you want to make sure that this guy's dead. Don't just try to run through him or anything like that. And then we're just going to continue running along here. We're going to come over to the inner wall bonfire. And then what we're actually going to do, instead of taking the normal pathway up to Aava, I'm actually just going to teleport back to the front entrance. And then from here, we're going to fight Aava. So I actually do that specifically because it's very rare for the Holy Knight RM to actually come interrupt you as you're trying to enter the Aava fight. But because he does invade, it does make it just slightly riskier as you're on your way to Aava. So I just come back here to the front entrance, run on through, don't have to worry about any invaders. Alsana can go through her dialogue, and then I'm just going to cast use a charcoal pine resin here. Bright bug's optional if you've been collecting bright bugs, but this bright bug is very similar to using one for like the Looking Glass Knight or the Fume Knight, where it just helps speed up the fight. It's not necessarily essential. So as far as Aava, one thing that kind of my best piece of advice to give is, so when you roll through her jump, you'll notice I lock off before I try to hit her. If you stay locked on, then chances are you are probably going to miss her. But really, to avoid all of Ava's attacks, I'm just rolling into her and to the right side. And then here, I mess up a little bit, just because I should have noticed that her back was against the wall so that I couldn't get behind her when she cast the icicles. You want to try to be as far away as possible because, like you saw, she can follow up that icicle attack pretty quick. But just rolling front right. With her, you really just got to get the timing down. More than anything, the strategy isn't terrible. And actually, let's see if she does her swipe one more time. Because I do want to point out, so with, no, it doesn't look like she's going to do it. I'll point it out in the Lud and Zalin fight when I see it, but there is a swipe attack that she does, so when she's like facing you, and she just kind of like swipes and lunges forward at you, just know that she can follow that up with a second swipe, and then sometimes we'll follow that up with a jump backwards. So something that you'll see me do, just as I kind of refresh myself with the strategy on how to beat Aava, I remembered that you should be rolling a second time if she front swipes at you. But again, if you want to see what I mean, go ahead and check out, I believe it's going to be video 22 that we'll talk about Lud and Zalin and the double cat fight. But really, if you've practiced the Lud and Zalin fight enough, then the Aava fight should just be easy. Honestly, it's the only thing that really makes Aava that hard is going to be if she's invisible, which we take care of. So now we're just going to come over here to Alsana, and Tiger Mom's going to unfreeze the city for us. Then we'll go rescue 2 Loyce Knights and unlock the frigid outskirts so that we can just kind of return to that when we're ready for it. So the first of the 3 errands that we're going to have to do is get the key to unlock the frigid outskirts. So we're going to start all 3 of our excursions are going to start from the abandoned dwelling bonfire. So for this first one, I'm going to cast Fall Control and then Urine. Still have Homeward just in case of a Forlorn. And again, casting Urine. I'm watching to make sure that the caster, caster isn't casting at me, so I'm okay. And then casting Urine. And you'll see another close call here because, okay, all three of them were distracted. But then because I cast Urine over there, yeah, that was sketchy. So again, just one of those things that you got to kind of watch out for. Again, this specific caster that's up here by kind of the misty door, it's this caster that we're about to run by. He really likes to ignore urine and skulls. So you really just got to kind of be careful about him. But as we're now running through, again, up the far side so that I can lock onto the dog easier. If you have Lingering Dragon Crest Ring equipped, then you really shouldn't have to worry about any of the urine casts running out. If you want an Alluring Skull, I know this is going to be a little bit sketchier than it needs to be, because if I had another urine cast, then I would have been able to cast it as I was kind of drawing level with the caster. And then I wouldn't have had to worry about him trying to shoot behind me. Now, even though he does shoot after I've run past, I should be safe because I'm already in the passage, but depending on stamina management, it might be one of those like meme hits. But then we're just going to light up one of the flame butterflies and open up the door here. Now, going up the far side, there's a Flexile Sentry. You would have just seen his sword arm before I ran up this passage. So we aren't going to go up the right side. We aren't going to mess with that sentry. I just come up here and poison this guy. And I mean, it takes a minute and a half because he will run up towards where you came up this path. So, I mean, he can't fit through it, luckily. But I'll poison him. And then, honestly, you could, depending on how risky you're feeling, if you cast Fall Control and just drop down while he's walking back here, you should have enough time to pick up the key and homeward out before he aggroes to you. It's sketchy, so I don't do it, but it is something that if you don't want to have to wait the full like minute and a half to actually get him poisoned, then again, you would want to drop down like now. Because it's as soon as you see his health bar kind of start walking back would be when you would want to drop. And again, since he's walking back, in my experience in the 1 or 2 times that I've tried to do this, he hasn't run to me because he's just walking back. But again, it's sketchy because he sees you as you're like casting, so then he starts to run at you, and he hasn't done anything that hit me before, but who knows. So now I'm going to rest at this bonfire, and then we're going to run on through, and we're actually going to grab the Frigid Outskirts bonfire here, finish up this first errand. So again, I'm just running through. Yep, it's that guy. Started casting before the urine cast had applied. Cast to distract this guy again. And then I'm going to shoot a urine orb out there. And sometimes it works to distract this guy, sometimes it doesn't. The one that you cast on the wall seems to always work, so long as you make it past the first one, just make sure that you're kind of ready to roll in case the urine orb doesn't actually apply. So I'm going to come in here, rest to reset my urine casts, cast one on the wall, run up. You might want to cast another one on the wall to your right just to make sure the first one doesn't run out. I'm confident enough in this that I'm just going to do that urine cast, which will distract this second spear guy that we just ran past. And now I'm going to cast fall control because I'm going to fall here in a second. And then you can either cast urine or throw a skull. You want urine ready because you're going to cast it out here to distract the guys across the way. And then you should cast another one inside here. Now, it doesn't normally work on that guy that just charged up the spell. For whatever reason, he doesn't fall for urine, from what I can tell. But as long as you're sprinting off that edge, then you should be able to drop down before he's had a chance to cast a spell. And if you're sprinting, then you should land on that little ledge down there. If you're feeling risky, you can always bait out that first cast and then jump to reach down there. Jumping is a lot less sketchy, or at least it looks a lot less sketchy, but it's pretty consistent if you sprint off. I've only failed it once or twice, and I'm pretty sure that's just because I wasn't actually holding the joystick forward. So then you can kill these guys now. We are going to want to kill them before we free up our Loyce Knights. I actually realized a mistake in this strategy while recording this because as you see me cast the urine, yeah, it's the spear knights up above get aggroed. And so I haven't tested to see whether or not that's a complete game breaker as far as our strategy, but I really didn't feel like messing around with it, so I just rested and reset the bonfire. Figured this way, since I'm already over here, I can kill this guy that's going to be in our way, on our way back down to this bonfire. So we're going to kill him. Don't worry if you don't get him before he drops down there. He does just walk down this hallway, so you can kind of just peekaboo in and out. And then killed the handmaiden and shooting at this guy, ready to kind of walk back in, casting urine to distract him now that he's in the bottom level, and then kill him. So then we're going to open up this gateway, and as we open up the gateway, now I feel like the best combination here is to cast urine first and then throw this skull, because the skull doesn't work on the handmaids. The skull only works on the soldiers. But urine does work on the handmaids. But for whatever reason, if you cast urine there, that first the soldier that you have to run by in the exit doorway, for whatever reason, he doesn't seem to actually get distracted by a urine cast, whereas he does get distracted by a skull. So probably a combination of urine and skull would be the best bet there. Although that might be overkill, and I would recommend just doing some testing on your own if you don't feel comfortable with that strategy. Then we're going to run in here, though, after casting urine a few more times, because urine distracts all these enemies. We run in there, and yep, the Knight of Aleum Loyce is now seeking the chaos. Perfect. Cast fall control before we go through this illusory wall. And then we're going to turn around and cast Yearn to distract those two spear guys I was talking about earlier. And then this is the ledge where we had shot that one caster. And then we just dropped down. And so the reason why we weren't able to just homeward bone after freeing the Loyce Knight is because RM had invaded, which actually works out perfectly for us because we can now go back through this shortcut that we had opened up after going through the dog hallway. And because Arhin is already invaded, we're not able to get invaded by the castaway witch Donna. And even though Donna isn't crazy terrible to deal with, she is still a lot worse than RM. So just makes our life a little bit easier because now we can just kind of cast some Yearn out here to distract this guy. Open up for this Aleum Knight. Cast another Yearn just for funsies. And then we'll homeward out. And so just notice that skulls will only work on the regular kind of frost soldiers that you see at the beginning of the area. You have to use Yearn if you're trying to distract those Spear Knights or if you're trying to distract the guys that form clubs out of their hands. But with that, we are going to pick back up in the next one, taking on the Throne of Want and those three bosses. So I will catch you in the next one.